If you tell me you don't have the time to learn, or you tell me you don't have the time to invest in yourself, your family, or your employees, I would challenge you to let me see your cell phone, go to your screen time, and see how much time you've been on social media, see how much time you've been on other things. That's causing a distraction that's stopping you from being a people person and creating that influence and that emotional connection.
Who doesn't want to be a great leader? A leader who's calm under pressure, insightful, respected, well-liked. But what does it take to become a great leader? Hey, I'm Boo, and welcome to my podcast. The Few Leadership Podcast defines great leadership and what great leadership looks like. And I've found some of the world's best leaders or experts in the field of leadership to help you accelerate your leadership journey so you can be an ace at the game of leadership. If you're ready to rethink everything you know about leadership, if you're excited about accelerating your leadership journey, let's strap in and ignite your leadership potential. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Few Leadership Podcast. Today's guest is a master of the game, a student of leadership, and probably what I've certainly observed in the last 10 years in one of the most challenging roles inside organizations. And that role is custodian of growth, of learning, of development, of building the people capabilities within an organization. And I'll tell you right now, with Afterburner, we lose an awful lot of business and fail to convert deals because we come up against a wall, which is often HR and learning and development team, which makes me always fascinated about this role, because not only is it hard for individuals to grow, for an individual to have that self-awareness and to take opportunities to kind of evolve themselves. Once you start adding that to an organization and bring the organizational friction that comes with growth, man, my heart goes out to people like Rob Carman, my guest today. Hey, Robbie, how are you, man? It's so good to see you again.
I'm doing great, man. And I love you calling me Robbie. That's what my family calls me. So I love that. Welcome to the Robbie Club. I appreciate it. Nice to be here and to chat with everybody.
I feel honored, mate. I feel honored to be part of the Robbie Club. That's very kind of you. Now, you've got the ultimate job because you've got the perfect fit name-wise and organization. You're currently the Senior Director of Learning and Development, NASCAR, which is the ultimate job for a carman, I got to say. Mate, have you been angling for this job for like 10 years, or was it just the stars aligned and it was meant to be?
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but think that maybe I was born for this. I don't know. So I have a grandfather that I never met. He passed away when my father was 11. But apparently, when he was younger, he used to race on the beach out here when NASCAR was first concepted and like got going. So I don't know the full history with this and the full details of where it was. But from what I understand, racing has been in my life forever. I'm also originally born in West Virginia, grew up in Tennessee. So that's where all like the moonshine running and all that stuff in North Carolina, South Carolina. So, hey, you know what, Carman, maybe that's where it all started. But I'm here now.
And I'm sure Grandpa was doing something else with that race car when it wasn't racing on the beach in Daytona, mate.
Yep, 100%.
Hey, Rob, you're at the coalface, all right? And you have been at the coalface for over a decade. We're trying to grow people inside organizations. You've touched and worked with leaders. You're a superstar. You've rapidly grown an organization. You and I have had many, many deep and meaningful conversations about the challenges of leadership. In your lens, I mean, if you were to look at the world today, you'd be forgiven to think that we're in a bit of a leadership vacuum, in that a lot of leaders seem to be self-interested. A lot of leaders, look, let's be straight up, they're dealing with some enormously complex problem. But through your lens, what are you seeing as some of the biggest challenge for leaders today?
That's a deep question. There's a lot of different spots of that. I think my specific opinion of this is the ability to adapt and own change at a vast scope. So a lot of times if they see something coming down the pipe, it's their specific swim lane or their specific area that they're thinking about the impact of the business. So when you have business pillars and you have business directions, it's there. You can't help at an executive level think about what is the impacts to the board, what are the impacts to the business themselves. And a lot of times we forget that leadership level of what's the change and the impact, the ripple effect all the way down, even from from the janitor to the senior directors like myself and others, of what's the impact and how are they managing the change that's there. what I've seen good businesses, great businesses do with Fortune 100 companies when I've been a part of them and some other locations is they've been able to manage that message from the top down and the down up. And, we've probably heard the sandwich effect of like, what's the message up top and what's the message at the bottom, and then the impact in the middle, the meat there. I think if we can get back to basics of change management is one of the biggest things that I think are an opportunity. You hear that a lot, like, hey, change management and teaching to change and coaching to change, especially in my field of preparing people for change. But we don't have that element in some places, and some leaders just don't possess that to think holistically of impacts across the entire organization.
So you've been in a business for a long time with T-Mobile, with Robinhood, with Kraken, another very racing car centric organization in the Formula One. Are you seeing that the rate of change and what leaders are having to deal with accelerating? Have you seen it becoming a bigger issue now, or is it just a deeply human issue that's just always been there?
When I entered into the workforce, it was all, what are we going to do with these millennials that are coming in? The millennials. And that's all that we saw. And I remember looking at what does success look like. And I thought, okay, well, it's a balding white guy with a gray hair or gray beard. And guess what I am now? And I look at that and I think, oh my gosh, young Rob, do you really understand and really see the scope of what that was and what's the impact that you're making now when you were looking up thinking, man, I wish they would do this. Are you making those impacts going down? I think that the change that I've seen in the issues that are there right now have a lot to do with that we still do the same thing. We look down and we're like, how can I manage a Gen Z? How can I manage a boomer? How can I manage a millennial? And all these Xers and all these different generations are now just mixed up into a pot of, we still have boomers that are still in the workforce while Zs are coming in that are coming in here too. And there's so many difference. And then technology has gotten involved to where you have people that would have never picked up a cell phone 10, 15, 20 years ago to start sending a text message. Now that's their main form of communication. And when you go to a restaurant, you look around. I do this all the time whenever we go out to eat. You look around and you see people, all they're doing is on their phones. They're not communicating with each other. So leaders have an opportunity with communication and learning how to communicate with each other and learning how to communicate with people that are different from them. So again, I'll go back to what I was originally saying of change management and boiling it back down to communication at the different speeds. It's back to your original question about like, do I see it increasing? Yes, I do. And the reason for that is because of technology, our rapid need for information, our change of being able to communicate to people of different generations have been such a focus point. But what have we done with it? What have we learned? How have we learned how utilizing this technology that we have now with AI and ChatGPT and other sources, how are we using that to be able to learn and teach ourselves, take a break and learn how to communicate with the younger generation or the mid generation or hell, even ourselves? How are we doing that? And it's just not there right now. So yes, it is increasing fast. I've got more I can share on that, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's stolen leadership attention. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like 5-10 years ago, leaders were more available. There was opportunities to have more interaction with the leader, but the technology just seems to be subconsciously dragging the leaders away. And as a result, there's a bit of a vacuum there in terms of direction, in terms of bringing people in on the journey. And it's almost like we've gone back to a more kind of directive approach for leadership, which is, look, just shut up and do it because I don't have time to explain it. Is that something that you're kind of seeing a little bit as well? When we're talking about people leadership, impact leadership, which is all about planning and building really clear strategies around execution, and leading in the moment, which is about understanding that you're going to be distracted and you're going to have to build more awareness around what you do, meaning you've got to start to realize, is what I'm doing right now what matters, or am I just doing stuff? So do you feel like leaders are just sort of becoming less available for their people?
Yes. I think that we are in a selfish stage of leadership right now. Very selfish in a lot of ways. And again, I'm not calling out my business in any way. I'm talking about just the rest of the world and just kind of looking at different things. I think that there's a selfish mentality of what's in it for me as a manager of the business and a lead of the department. How is my department and me specifically, how is this growing to the next level? I have a great leader that in the middle of our conversation, at the beginning of our conversation, at some point, it's always, how are you? How's your family? How's the kids? A lot of that isn't existing anymore in a lot of different businesses. To stop and think about that. There's also on the selfish side of things of not being able to say, I don't know, because you don't want to look bad in front of your people. Is saying, I don't know. So if someone comes to me and asks a question and says, and I have a responsibility of telling them the truth and saying, I'm not sure, let's learn this together, or let's look it up. I mean, the beauty, another great thing about right now, and the beauty of AI and technology is we could probably find out the answer to something within 30 seconds. Like you go into Chat GPT, ask it the question, preface this, you may have to fact check it, but most of the time you can go in there, ask a question, get the answer. So why not be honest and tell your team you don't know something that they're asking you? They're not judging you for that aspect. They're learning from you and they need some guidance. So don't make it up and don't get frustrated saying, I don't have the time to. Yes, you do. Find the time. I've said this before to multiple people. If you tell me you don't have the time to learn, or you tell me you don't have the time to invest in yourself, your family, or your employees, I would challenge you to let me see your cell phone, go to your screen time and see how much time you've been on social media, see how much time you've been on other things. That's causing a distraction that's stopping you from being a people person and creating that influence and that emotional connection with your employees and that personal adoption of relationships. It's starting to diminish and go away.
Yeah, you're touching on that whole vulnerability point, right? It's a recurring theme on this podcast. It comes up almost every second podcast where someone says, leaders just need to be vulnerable. And I think in that particular scenario you're talking about, when you don't know, I feel like we just got to create triggers for leaders that if they have a thought or a feeling, there's an immediate trigger to change the way they would normally respond to that. And when we find ourselves having those kind of internal conversations, which I don't know, I don't want to look stupid. The trigger should be, this is a great opportunity to connect with my team and problem solve something together. And maybe you don't have to say, hey guys, I don't know. It might be because, hey guys, we've got an issue here. I really want to come together and work on this to see if we can get some clarity around it. And that in itself, two things happen, right? One, you let yourself off the hook for not knowing and the stress of feeling like you don't know stuff. And there's no supreme being on earth that knows everything. So that's a given. And the second one is, what a wonderful way to then connect with the team for 30 minutes. They feel like they're part of the journey. They're having a conversation with you. They feel like you care about their opinions, and away you go. So part of that really is, I feel like there's this dependence on one-on-ones, right? Where leaders constantly have one-on-ones, and we kind of lose the personal touch in terms of collectively. What have you seen, work effectively in terms of, hey, why are we always, speaking to 10 people one-on-one is 10 hours, or you can put 10 people in a room together for 1 hour.
Why do people want one-on-ones? That's what I'd say. Why do you want a one-on-one with your leader?
But that's because fear, right? That's just, you really, it's probably more just fear and just feeling okay, because you probably just don't know what the real expectation.
Yeah. Well, to hit the word fear, one of the main things about fear is unknown. Like that's scientifically, one of the main things that creates fear is unknown. What's going to happen here when I go in a room? If I know that I'm going to go into a room with somebody and I'm going to have 1,000 people look at me while I'm standing on stage and talking to something, that's not the part that would be fearing a lot of people. It's am I going to mess up? Am I flying done? Am I going to trip when I'm going up the stairs? It's that fear of unknown, of an uncertainty of how it's going to happen. So yeah, there is the fear, but I'm saying, like, for me, when I want a one-on-one with my leader and have this, and why I look forward to those one-on-ones is because I have their attention. If I go into that one-on-one and they're on their phone and they're, not paying attention to what I'm saying that's there, the one-on-one is lost. That's not a one-on-one. A one-on-one is I'm sitting down, having communication with you, sharing my thoughts on the business, sharing my thoughts on what we can do better, getting your opinion and your thoughts on, am I taking the right business strategy that's here? If I know, I use this joke all the time, but on the road, you have a white line and a yellow line to keep you in between the lanes, right? And I call it the mustard and the mayonnaise, and you're the meat, you're the burger there, just trying to make sure you're there. Your leader should be those lines and keeping you in between. And those one-on-ones should be a stop point of, yes, you are going the right direction. Yes, things are going great. Or, hey, you kind of hit the, when you, in the States at least, you go over to the side of the road and you hit the great thing that gets you back online. To me, a one-on-one is a lot around that. And I do think they can be done in group settings. And I do like that. But I want to go back to that for just a second. When I did this just a minute ago, when you said that, a one-on-one again is this checkpoint of having that connection. If the only times you're really connecting with your leader is during a one-on-one, that's not great. And if you are in leadership and you aren't connecting with your people and making those stop points with them, you really need to revisit it and think, okay, how could I do it? It takes 5 minutes to go through your crew or jump online or maybe send a Teams chat or a Slack or whatever communication tool that you use and just ask them how they're doing. Or just saying, hey, hope you have a good weekend. Or, hey, happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome back. Let me know if I can do anything for you. That goes so far. And if you're not doing those spot checks of showing your employees that you have that, you value them and that you need them to feel comfortable and happy to be there, then you're missing out on some of their greatest attributes they could probably bring to the team. You can unlock a lot with having that emotional intelligence and influence by just connecting with people versus waiting on a one-on-one every month or every other week. Don't wait for that. And you don't have to even get into a business conversation. Just be a kind person. And I don't know how to emphasize that.
Simple, right? Be kind and care.
Man, it's so simple. When people ask me, like, what do you balance your leadership on? Like, kindness, golden rule, treat people how I want to be led. And it works. Like, that's what you do, is just be kind and check in on people and it'll grow.
Yeah, it's great insight. Mate, got a little segment here. What's your call sign? What would your call sign be if the team at NASCAR was asked to give you a call sign?
Oh, man. I got to think about that one. I don't know. I would have to check in. I would like, something cool, being a Top Gun guy. I would love a Maverick or something would just be awesome or whatever. But, sticking with that theme could be Iceman. And a reason for that is because the term that you get is ice in your veins when you don't get too nervous or caught up in stuff. Whenever pressure is on, that's when I'm usually at my best. If it's just lax and chill and nothing really, I struggle with that. I don't know what it is, but if it's heat on and it's go time, immediately I take control of any situation that I've ever been in, personal life or anything. If it's go time, it's just something comes over me. It's like this calming that just, I don't know. I just calm, take a breath and act. So I think call sign would be cool to be Iceman. I'd take it.
And I've seen this. The first time I met Rob, rather than just meet in an office, Rob invited me to a tactical exercise facility where the police train at, and we spent a good 2 or 3 hours in all sorts of random scenarios and hostage taking situations, both with pistols. And I saw it firsthand, man. I saw that ice in your vein. And
appreciate that.
That also sets you apart, Rob. Where you and I had the opportunity to meet. We're in Florida, and between us, we decided, what's going to be more valuable is having an experience when we meet, not just sit in a room. And that there is just that's a small leadership decision right there. And the value per hour of that experience and the connection and the meaning of it is just so much more powerful than just getting caught in the routine, just getting caught in the grind. Now, within NASCAR, there's some pretty unique leadership challenges, right? I don't know whether people realize this about NASCAR, but it might look when you're on the TV that they have, specific tracks set up with specific people to work at. But in the big scheme of things, when you guys are racing, it is like a one and done. And you have an entire organization that travels around the country, remote operations, high pressure. I mean, you have some kind of really unique leadership challenges. What are some of the challenges that your leaders have in terms of getting the game on again and again? How many races are there a year? I can't remember.
38, I think. 30. There's 30 something in the Cup Series. There's a lot of weeks that we have racing, so I'll have to follow up with you on that one. I don't know exactly how many in the Cup, but I do know that we race all year round, and we have the longest season. The Cup Series is the longest season in sports.
So give us some insight into how it works. Like, what does an average season look like, and what are the leaders kind of doing?
Yeah, so without going in and sounding like an expert anyway, because I am definitely not an expert when it comes into the competition side of the business at all. I would tell you some of the challenges that we all face in any ways. You're going to have logistic challenges. I mean, you got to think we went from Michigan to Mexico City for a race. That's huge. And it took over a year to 2 years in planning to make that happen, to set things up. And a lot of times during an event when everybody's enjoying the race, there are people in the background that are already moving to the next race for the following week. And it's like a traveling circus in a sense of, who's going to be where, when are folks going to go? I recently was talking to our events lead and about even just the communication that goes over in your field and the flyovers that have to be done and the communication to the National Guard and everything for getting approval. And they get that down to the timing of when they say the word brave is when they communicate like, hey, it's go time. And then over that word when that goes. And then you have the national anthem singer planning. And then you have your stage set up, your stage teardowns, all these different elements that have to go into just putting on the event. And all that stuff happens before the cars even turn on or even out of the trailers for that matter of even getting out there. So there's so much planning. Communication has to be, I won't say it's an opportunity. Honestly, it's something I'm very proud of our company. Seeing these things go down and seeing what happens, it's wild to me how it gets completed. And then the competition side of it, like once the race gets going and seeing, I recently learned something too that's really cool. There are several races, and during every race, there are lead passes and laps that happen that the time behind the cars, the positions of them, is less than the blink of an eye. So how quick it takes for you to blink your eyes is the time that it's passed already in between cars. So it's just wild to me that happens. And we've had so many less than the blink of an eye finishes over the last 5 years. So the leadership of the technology that it takes, the transportation, the communication back and forth, the planning, the security and safety of these events, they're all outdoors, having a plan around weather. There's just so many different things that NASCAR has done, and it takes some great leaders to really strap in and make it happen.
And it must be, I mean, fitting in learning and development around that must be challenging because it's a little bit like the military. I mean, you're most of your leaders outside the corporate space are deployed the whole time. They're on the road. They're dispersed. I mean, how does the organization look after their well-being? Or is that just kind of looked after because you've got such a great culture? You've got such an amazing purpose. You get the adrenaline hit every week of every race. Like, how do you care for these leaders?
Mr. Bill France Sr., who founded NASCAR in the 40s, was a hard-working man. Anything that you look up and you can read on anything, you'll never hear anything other than that he was a hard-working man and that he really wanted to bring stock car racing to the world. And he did, and his family did, and they still do to this day. I think that a big reason why we're able to be successful the way it is because of the hard work and dedication that was set 77 years ago when NASCAR was first started here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And people just get it done. And I don't know how to explain it other than that of just get it done. They really, really work hard to get it done. Training and educating them is a challenge for sure. There's technical skills of getting things done, but we evolve and we innovate. We meet them where they are. All of our learning platforms that we have are mobile inspired, where you can go online through your phone, your wireless device. And some of these locations that we have races and events until the telecom companies get there and set up additional towers, the service is a little low, but for the most part, most of them have good Wi-Fi connections, so they're able to do those during downtimes. We also listen to the department. So if a department head or a department lead of some sort tells me that there's an opportunity for learning, and we were talking about communication just a minute ago. So as an example, hey, we're having some communication issues on the team. We provide those specific learnings that are targeted for that team based off of what they need, and give them those pathways that's there. So we're not just saying, hey, here's some learnings, go and take these things. We're identifying, and I do it in a very easy way. So anybody that's on here that's in learning or even in leadership and you want to work with your learning team or someone that's out there, one question: what do you wish that your team was better at right now? Like if you were to say, if I was to ask somebody one question, have an elevator pitch or have a conversation with any leader in the world or in the company, and I could make an impact in my field, I would say, what is one thing that you wish that your team was better at right now? And there is a very high chance that there's some sort of a learning element that I could bring to you and your team that would make an impact and help them get better. So yeah, I think that's how we do it.
If you're enjoying the show, I'd just like to ask of you a little favor. We're on a mission here to ignite the world's leadership potential. We need to reach out to as many leaders as we possibly can. So if you're enjoying the show, I just ask you to leave a review, to subscribe, to help introduce this podcast to other leaders to join you on your journey to flawless leadership. We're going to head back to the episode now. I hope you've enjoyed what you've learned today. Please remember, let's ignite a movement of flawless leaders. Subscribe, leave a review. Let's get back to the show. And I guess the bottom line there is there's nothing that can't be fixed. There's nothing that can't be developed. Like there's just everything inside an organization. There is a solution if you just stay curious and you're absolutely clear around what good looks like.
Look, I think we've talked about this before, but I'll give this to the audience. Not 3 things that people need to be successful. And my thought is knowledge, skill, and will. I can give you the knowledge. I can give you the areas for you to learn and, go take a training, or you can learn in a live training. You have a conversation with Boo and Afterburner, whatever, like we did. I think that's great. The skill piece takes practice, and you have to grow that out, and to learn that, and you practice it and practice it. We used to role play a bunch when I was in sales, and I think kind of made me numb to it. So it's great. But the biggest one is willingness. And that's where leadership comes in. You have to inspire your people to be willing to want to do this stuff and to grow themselves. And then lastly, and then I'll shut up on this topic, but knowledge and wisdom are 2 different things. Like you get the knowledge, but you bring the wisdom by listening to people that have been in your role before, or by education and getting that connection and finding mentorship in someone that you truly feel like will bring value to your life and your career, because they're 2 different, but you can blend them together. That'll make you get better. That's where you get wisdom from. You don't get that from just, going and taking a whole bunch of trainings. That's knowledge. You get wisdom from growing yourself and working with good people.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Wisdom is a great word. And I think that's what, if leaders think, hey, I'm in the passing on wisdom business, not the passing on information and knowledge, you're going to naturally be an effective leader. Okay, Rob, another segment. Going to put you in the hot seat here and rapid fire you a few questions.
Let's go.
Mate, what is the toughest bit of feedback you've ever given somebody, and how did you do it?
Well, I'll give you a funny one that I've had to do a couple of times. So working in retail, I had to have hygiene conversations with people before, and that was like really, really uncomfortable, especially, ladies and gentlemen, by the way. So you can imagine how that had to have been, and attire and dress attire in a retail environment of what that may look like.
Yeah, are you talking like someone that has BO and doesn't wash their hair?
Man, yes, I've had that. We've had people that I've had individuals that had some problems at home, and they were sleeping in their car and taking a little bit of that extra, that devil's water, and coming in smelling a little bit like that. And those type of conversations, those are always challenging because, you're also concerned about them. So you have to offer EAP for them and make sure that they're okay. And then you have folks that, yes, they are UBO and not taking care of themselves. Those are always like really awkward. Like, I don't know that they're tough. It's just like, man, why am I having to have this conversation? Like, you're in retail and you're talking to people and you're in a business. And back in the day, we used to, at Verizon, we were wearing shirt and tie and in the store location. So I don't know if anybody listening used to go to Verizon's in the day, but the salespeople in the front line would wear shirt and tie. I still have hundreds of ties from wearing them every day. So you're dressed like that, but you smell like you just left the gym, and we had those challenges. So those were always tough, but I've been on the delivering end of severance packages and layoffs and stuff. And for some amazing people that, it's business at the end of the day, and we have to deliver those messages to some folks that were impacted in some different companies that I've been at before. Those conversations are never easy. I had a bottle of bourbon at the house one time that was specifically just for those people. Like, when I knew it was coming, I bought that bottle, and I'm like, when we have to deliver these messages, I'm going home and I'm going to turn on some sad country music, and I'm just going to have me a moment with that bottle there, have a few glasses, go to bed, and move on with business. But those conversations are never easy.
How do you make that conversation less painful for the other person? Because obviously they're about to have a moment and have a blind spot and be caught out by something. What is important for you in terms of how you approach someone to have that conversation?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little extra context to that. So one piece of leadership that I've tried very hard, I would almost value myself in this in a little bit, and, a little pat on the back, but I try very, very hard that if I'm having a mid-year or end of year conversation or an accountability conversation, or even a promotion conversation in some sense, I don't ever want anybody to be surprised in that meeting. I hope that my leadership, that folks that have worked with me in the past will attest to this, but I try really hard to make sure there's no surprises in that. Like, you should know, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to try to coach you and develop you in that area before it becomes something that we have to take corrective action on or move forward with it. So when I've had to deliver these packages or these layoff conversations in the past, there is no easy way. The best way for it, in my opinion, and what has worked the best is don't bounce around it. Go right in. Like, if you are in a conversation with someone and you're try to like, I've been the receiving end of one of these before, where it's, well, Rob, we really value the work that you've brought to the team, and you've really brought some great things to us. And then they start fumbling over their words because they start getting nervous and their palms are sweating, and you can kind of see the beats start to develop a little bit. And when you deal with people as much as I do, I'm reading them like a book and I know what's coming, but they're having a harder time saying it than I am receiving it. Finally, it comes out and you're like, all of that for 5 minutes to tell me that I don't have a job anymore? Like,
Yeah.
Golly, why don't you just start with that? And then let's just kind of like hash out the details of, do I have a chance to apply for something else? Do I not? Like, so my advice to anybody that hopefully never has to go through this, but anybody that has or will be going through it, is just know your talk track, know that what you have to do, explain to them that the company has made a decision and they were impacted. Explain what HR gives you. Trust your HR partners. Give the trust that they deserve. Follow the script and try not to get emotional. Even if they do and they start to get emotional with it, it's safer to pop your camera off if you're virtual. And if you're in the room with them, just take a breath. I always tend to do this with my hands. It allows me to just kind of focus and just, hone in and listen to them. Take some breaths. You've done your part. And then you say, okay, we'll separate from here, and whatever
step into that Iceman persona, mate.
I get it. That's a fault that I get a lot, is like, Rob, not everybody can do that. Well, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know how to say it any differently. Like, you just don't get emotional. Like, if I said one thing, take yourself out of the personal world, or you're going to be walking right out with them. You have a responsibility as a leader, and leaders have to make very tough decisions and very tough calls. And you don't need that emotional connection breaking your focus. You have to do this thing and to move on. And it's a lot of times best. I'll give you a great example of some best stuff. I know for a fact, that there are 3 people right now that I have delivered some sort of separation, whether it be for they weren't performing in their role or they were a part of some layoffs. One of them is very high up in I won't call them out, but they're very high up in a newscasting company that covers sports, and they make a lot more money and they're way happier than they were before that. And they're much more successful. So it was the right thing for them. The other 2 that I would mention are both business owners, and they're very successful. One wrote a book, and it was a really good, I don't know that it was a bestseller, but it was a really good book. And then the other one owns a business and does a bunch of different stuff in the hometown. So those are great examples of, you may not know what this is going to do for them, but they'll land on their feet and they'll find somewhere. So check that before you walk in the room, deliver the message, and move forward.
That's great advice, mate. What's your blind spot, Rob?
Emotions. Like, I have no doubt about it. I'm very connected to my people, and I want folks to build. And I think that's a caveat of my leadership style. Is emotional intelligence is a very high thing that I really have worked really, really hard to try to accomplish. I want to influence people in the right way, and when you do those type of things, you can't help but kind of hit your emotional wagon a little bit to them. So I think I have to, that's a blind spot for me that I've worked really hard to make sure that I don't allow myself to get there. I also have an emotional connection of loyalty. So I'm very loyal to my leadership, and I'm very loyal to my brand. And sometimes that's kind of gotten me a few times, not here. NASCAR's been great to me. But sometimes it's kind of gotten me a little bit where I'm blinded to maybe what's happening because I'm so loyal to that individual or I'm loyal to that brand that I'm not seeing the big picture.
What's one rule you never break?
Don't break my faith. So I try to stay very faithful and grounded in faith in what God's given me. And I try very hard to not break that. I would say that. Obviously, my marriage too. So Whitney, my amazing wife, if you're listening to this,
She will be.
That too.
Well
What?
done. Good, good little thing to drop into the podcast, Rob. So, mate, you've been in developing people for a long time, and people just sometimes just resist growth and they resist development. What is it that you see? Why do people resistant to this growth and this opportunity to just be on a lifelong journey of personal development?
Yeah, I'll give you two things. One is if you go in, I can speak to the U.S. education, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff everywhere else in the whole world. But when you are a kid, you're forced to go to a school in a lot of ways. Most folks, they're forced to go to school. They're forced to sit there and learn things over and over and over and over and over, the same thing over and over. And then you're not seeing the value from that. So if I go to school for 12 years and I'm done with high school and I'm never going to use algebra again, and I'm never going to use these things that I've learned in social studies or whatever, and science, cool, there's some great stuff in there you can learn, but I'm never going to learn them again. How is that sowing in my mind that there's a value in learning? There's also in college, you have these electives that you take that have no connection to what you're actually going to do in your life. I have so many people that have worked for me and with me that have degrees in some things that they've never even done. They get out of college and then they go and apply for a job that has nothing to do with that. So teachers that are salespeople and people that go for business education and they don't even use that. They go and, maybe doing something else and work in the medical field, or they'll have their medical and then they go and do it and they learn that that's not it. So what are we teaching people by that, with giving them learning and having them do all of these unnecessary educational things throughout their young growth mind deal is, hey, go learn because you have to.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn, then you're not going to be successful. And that's just how it goes. And then when you are successful and it has nothing to do with the learnings that you got, you're like, well, shit, I didn't need that in the first place. Why did they make me do that? Okay, well, the last thing I want to do is go and learn again, waste my time there when I've gotten further by just executing and getting the work done. I don't need to go and learn something. I'm going to learn it as I go. So I think there's a psychological piece with that we've embedded in people over the years and over the centuries, really, an educational system of where are you seeing the success from the learnings that you've gone through? If you're not able to tie that back to success and tying learning back to the pillars and an enabler of your success, then, we got to recreate how you're thinking to learn for it. So I think that's in my opinion, probably the biggest reason why we're having such a challenge with it. The other side of that is that people they aren't getting the support that they need from their leadership, and the leaders aren't influencing or helping and guiding it and seeing the value there. So I may see the value in me getting a certification or whatever else that's there, and my leader may not see how the impact of that, or vice versa. Myself in my position in leading learning and development, maybe see an opportunity to align leadership competencies to values or something like that. And then the business may say, well, why do we need to align that? Just align it to the values and get it accomplished. I may be guilty of not being able to communicate the message appropriately, but a lot of times they're not seeing the value of the learning pathways and messaging to help develop their team.
Yeah, it's very true. It's really insightful what you said there about condition to learning has no value because I've spent my whole life learning stuff that's not useful. I think that's probably, one of the most powerful things that we've had on the podcast. How do you break that though, mate? This is, I guess this is your mission, right? Is to help people become aware around the benefit of learning. So how do you exert that influence on people?
I was the worst student ever. Like, I'll be the first to tell anybody in here, or anybody that asks me, like, Rob, how in the world, if you talk to some of my people back home in Tennessee, where I'm from, they're like, how in the world do you learn learning and development? We went to school with you. So you're right. I think you
embody the case study.
Excuse me. Yeah, I am the example of that. I just don't see the value in it, so I'm not going to do it. And I am blessed enough to have a 10-year-old son that is teaching me how frustrating it is to be a father with someone like that. So, he's similar. Anyways, yeah. So I think that is my calling, is to try to connect with that and to make people better. Not necessarily my calling to train people, but to make people better and to grow folks to the best version of themselves. I don't want people to take trainings that bring no value to them. The anti-harassment trainings, the compliance trainings, the HR trainings that we all have to do to make sure that we're doing the right thing, those are federal law and laws that we have to abide by in any business. That's different. I'm talking about your personal growth and your development that's there. My job and my responsibility is to make sure that I'm giving people the resources that they need to make themselves better. It's as simple as that. And to make the impact on the business that we would be able to see growth and development that directly correlate to the success of the business. Like that, in a nutshell, is really what my responsibilities are as in my profession. But the way that we can do it is listening to our employees. Like, I know we hear this, and that's probably a really over-talked thing. But I'll give you an example with this. We surveyed our employees last year, and we asked them, what do you want to learn? Like, out of anything that's here, what do you all want to learn? And we took the top 4 that everybody had given us, and we have delivered on them. We are delivering on them this year. So we broke them up into quarters. So first quarter, second quarter, third, and fourth. And we have now seen success of our learnings because we gave them what they want. So if I go to a restaurant that says, today you're eating hot dogs and you're going to have French fries, here you go. And I know you may not like stout beer, but that's the only drink that you're getting today. Or I go in and have a menu, I'm more apt to be happy. When was the last time you went to a restaurant and you didn't get to make a choice? We live in a world of choices. You have algorithms and social media that give you what you like to see. You go online and you see things that you want to see because your phones might be listening to you and pushing advertisements to you because you're talking about buying a Chevrolet, or, you're looking at these new shoes or a new shirt and you're getting these things. The world is coming to people now. You can go to Amazon, order what you want, and it's here tomorrow morning. Like, the world is coming to you, so learning should come to you. Your education, your growth, your development, your leadership, everything should come to you in a sense, and you go chasing after your career. You have a responsibility to develop yourself and to go get things, don't get me wrong, but things should be coming to you. So in my profession, I believe that a way that we fix it is giving people what they need and what they see that they want.
And I think the subtext there, Rob, is leadership is not a template. It's a personal experience, right? Every leader has different strengths and weaknesses. Every leader wants to grow. But I think the role in what you speak to there is, what does good look like when development is finished? Because I think a lot of people don't even ask that. And we're pretty good at normalizing to our environment and just accepting this is what it is. And I'll do my workarounds. I'll do what I need to do rather than be an agent for change. Again, mate, there's another final segment here. It's called the 1 minute mission. You got 1 minute to answer these questions. Ready to go?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's see.
All right.
Can I just say can I say pass if I don't know?
Yeah, you can say pass. That's fine. All right. You're on the clock, mate. What's your leadership mission?
My leadership mission would be to make people better, to give people the resources and the growth to believe in themselves and to develop themselves to be their best.
Finish this sentence for me, mate. I love leadership because
it matters.
Love it. You're getting the hang of this. What's one non-negotiable that you expect from a leader?
To value my time with my family.
What drives you when you don't feel like doing your job?
Again, I would have to say my family again. Like, looking at, what does my little boy see? What does my daughter see? Do they see somebody who gives up, or do they see somebody that pushes through some of the toughness? You have a buffalo in your background right here. I don't know if you know the significance of this. I'm sure you do because you're an amazing leader yourself, but buffaloes and cattle are a big difference. And the big difference is a cow, when they see a storm coming, they turn around and try to outrun it, and the storm just follows them the whole time. Buffaloes see it and they run right through it. They see that opportunity to get through it, and they just go storming right ahead through a storm. I think that's what makes me, at the end of the day, find that gut in my stomach that's like, you're not a quitter. You're not going to give up. This is where you belong. Go. And that happens.
Who's the one leader you felt was the most incredible leader you've ever observed?
Pass. I don't know. I don't know if I'm name dropping yet.
What's one generic trait of that leader that you felt I want to make sure I embody that myself?
Compassion and being able to turn it on and off.
So to be Robbie and Iceman embodied
Yeah,
in the one
That's right.
mind, body and soul.
Robbie Ice.
Awesome. Rob, to wind up the podcast, we really want to share something that you can give to the leaders that are listening that they can apply as soon as they walk into a leadership moment. What would be 1, 2, or 3 things that you would give to a leader to maybe help unblock their attitude towards development, but also their own commitment to developing the people around them?
Developing themselves from a learning side of things in my field, or are you saying just in general as a leader walking into a leadership moment that to be in the right mindset for?
I guess like a trigger, like something that wakes up a leader to help them understand that they're not on a journey committed. Like how could they identify that in themselves, and what can they do to take the first step towards personal growth?
Well, the first thing, to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been. So understand the steps that you got. I've said this to 100 people, especially my son, is if you never learned how to use the restroom, we would all be walking around with diapers on. Or if you never learned how to take steps, we would all be crawling around the offices and not even be able to hit the buttons in the elevator, right? None of that would ever happen. So and how many times did you mess your pants before you learned not to? And how many times did you fall on your butt or fall face down before you learned to walk? That's just who we are as humans, and as nature is we develop and we grow. And it starts from birth. We didn't know how to breathe when we came out, so we all started crying. We didn't know that. Guess what? Everyone that's listening to this and everyone that you and me talking, we all share that trait together. None of us knew how to breathe when we came out. None of us knew how to walk when we first were born. Like, we all grow together and we all have to learn and connect. And to go that far back and to think, okay, what has gotten me to where I'm at right now? Innovation, development, failing, falling down, learning from our mistakes, asking questions, growing wisdom. That's what's made the difference. So I think find something that triggers that in your mind. For me, it's always been breathe. If I'm ever in a situation where I'm about to go into something, and then do it. That would be my biggest thing. Look back, think about failure and how it's turned into success. Take a deep breath and be a rock star.
Awesome, Rob. Hey, thanks for, I know you're busy. You're developing a very big oil tanker there, a large organization, high profile, and everything you do, see, and touch has consequence and resonates. And for everyone on the show here today to have the benefit of spending 45, 50 minutes with you, it's a blessing. So, Rob, thanks again. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your insight with the team listening today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.